Considering a career at Amazon? Perhaps you've already got an interview. Or maybe you're just curious about the ways we'd want to get to know you if you applied for one. The first thing to be aware of is the leadership principles. We use them every day to come up with ideas and to help us solve problems. They're one of the things that make Amazon peculiar. It's important to be familiar with the leadership principles because these are the criteria against which you'll be assessed.
Hey guys, thanks a lot for clicking on this video. To get into Amazon, it's not just about coding, but it's also about 14 leadership principles that they ask vigorously in each and every round of their interviews. It can be the deciding factor whether you are getting the job or getting rejected. So you have to understand each and every principle in detail along with the examples that you may need to demonstrate in your interviews. So please go through the video completely and find out how you can apply these leadership principles in your professional life. We have invited Kumar Vimal from Texas, US, who has been in Amazon for the last 5 years and is well versed with each and every principle. So let's welcome him. Hey KV, thanks a lot for joining for the call.
Thanks, Amit, for having me here. I'm really excited to be a part of this.
Today, we're going to discuss about the 14 leadership principles of Amazon. So people say that these principles are not applicable in professional life. So as you have been in Amazon for 5 years, I thought of inviting you for this and discussing with you how can somebody actually apply this leadership principles.
Oh, this is a great topic to discuss. I'm sure I can share a lot of experiences on this as we go through the individual principles.
Okay, KV, so let's see about the first principle, customer obsession. ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा डाइसी टॉपिक है, लोगों को समझ में नहीं आता कि how to, like, हम तो डेवलपर हैं, how can we think about the customers directly? So can you just give some scenario कि कोई बंदा customer obsession दिखा पाए being a developer?
हाँ, तो अमित, ये जो कस्टमर ऑब्सेशन है ये काफी ओवररेटेड टर्म है मेरे हिसाब से. तो this principle is pretty simple. You just need to think about the whole problem by putting yourself in customer shoes rather than आप fancy हो जाओ अपने solution को लेके complex solution बनाने लग जाओ और वैसी चीजों पे focus करो which is not really important in the first go for the customers. मेरे पास एक बहुत ही अच्छा एग्जांपल है मैं इसके लिए where I was working on maps. मैं maps पे काम कर रहा था. मेरी टीम बहुत ही important पेज बना रही थी जहाँ पे हमें कुछ pins दिखाने थे for all the service providers. तो उसमें as being a regular developer you would be feeling like हाँ मैं इसको बहुत ही feature rich बनाऊंगा and यहाँ पे fancy zooming panning and all that gestures जो हम सीखते हैं अपने JS layer पे मैं वो सब लगाऊंगा and मैं इसको बहुत ही ज्यादा बहुत ही cool gestures भी use करूंगा इसको deliver करने के लिए. But if you look from customer's perspective, that is not what will draw your first customers, right? When you're launching this product, जब तुम private beta में होगे and you're like launching it for few customers, they like if the UI is kind of responsive. So we should focus on the latency aspect more than getting along with thousands of features. Just pin down to having a basic UI with the basic functions. जहाँ पे latencies are always in check. You're not having anything more than 50 milliseconds. I'm just putting a number. That's the sweet spot of UI is where you can have like not more than 250 seconds. But I'm just saying कि जितना responsive UI हो उतना ज़्यादा adoptability होगा, and you can definitely add on more features as you go on in the project.
So hey KV, that was a great explanation. Coming to the next principle, the next principle is ownership. So say something about it.
I think before I go on and describe the scenario, what do you feel about this principle, Amit?
Okay, so I was just waiting for this. So ownership, what I understand is, as it is written also, that you don't only act for your team, you also act for the entire company. That means if something is blocking you, you take the responsibility of fixing it. Even though that code does not belong to your code base. For example, तू कोई feature बना रहा है और किसी दूसरी टीम पे तेरी डिपेंडेंसी है, एंड अपने फीचर को अनब्लॉक करने के लिए यू हैव टू स्कैन थ्रू देयर कोड बेस, अंडरस्टैंड द प्रॉब्लम, उसको फिक्स करना पड़ रहा है तो फिक्स करो, लाइक शो द ओनरशिप फॉर योर फीचर एंड ऑल्सो अनब्लॉक अदर टीम्स. सो एम आई करेक्ट?
Yeah, I think that's a very well described scenario to demonstrate ownership. You should never think about others' teams' code bases as not your own, and hey, this is not my job. I cannot. Why should I go ahead and do this? But everything is all tied up, right? They are your dependencies. You should go ahead and look at how we can resolve those and get going with our own project post having that work done in a waiting model. So that's a very well described scenario, Amit.
So let's move to the next principle, invent and simplify. So what I understand from invent and simplify is keep it simple. Keep it like if the problem is complex, it doesn't mean that your solution also has to be complex. अगर कोई complex problem आई तो शुरू में like complex middlewares या फिर complex algorithms लगाना शुरू नहीं करना चाहिए. We should always think कि हम simply इस problem को कैसे solve कर सकते हैं, and I think इससे कंपनी का भी टाइम बचेगा एंड इट विल आल्सो बूस्ट योर प्रोडक्टिविटी.
I think that's pretty much there, Amit. मतलब हम जब भी कोई नया प्रॉब्लम आता है, then we as developers, try to use all the fancy knowledge that we have till now. कि यार ये टेक्नोलॉजी भी लगा देते हैं, वो टेक्नोलॉजी भी लगा देते हैं, जैसे कि जितनी भी टेक्नोलॉजीज अब तक सीखी है सबको इसी प्रोजेक्ट में लगानी है और दिखानी है कि क्या करना है. So a very important understanding there as being a developer is that you start simple, and that's what this leadership principle advocates. Ki the problem space might be complex, but you start looking at the solution from a very simplistic point of view and develop something which is simple. इसके बहुत फायदे होते हैं, right? अभी आजकल के times में the technology is emerging every time. Even if you come up with a complex solution, it's not guaranteed that it's gonna stay for a very long period of time. तो हमारे operations बढ़ जाते हैं, right? If you have a complex solution, you also have to have all the metrics around, or every code path of that complex solution. तो operations पे भी उसका impact पड़ता है. मेरे हिसाब से starting from a simple solution which caters to all the customers' needs is more important and is a big time win. For not just the customer, but also for the team in managing the product.
Okay, I think that's a great explanation. So let's move to the next principle. Are right a lot. So यार इससे simple principle तो कोई है ही नहीं. I think इसका मतलब तो यही है ना कि leaders हमेशा सही होते हैं and उनको follow करते रहो, right? I think you guys follow this only, right? That leaders are right. So just follow them.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, this is something which I was about to I was kind of imagining that this is very wrongly interpreted principle, and I know why this is, because it just says are right a lot. But if you go down the understanding of this principle, it's all about having data driven decisions, having to make decision at every level. It doesn't mean that I'm just a new hire for the company, I cannot take decisions. So let me describe this with a small example. There was a very mature product that we had in our team, and that product was kind of running in production for about 3 years. The leaders believed that we are good with just having this product in the keep the lights on mode for since it's a very mature product. But the low level understanding on operations does come when the developers have their on calls. You kind of understand that, hey, there are a lot of operational optimizations that you could do, and these are never prioritized because from end user perspective or from customer perspective, you don't really get any benefit from picking up those tasks in the sprint. So if you apply this principle, you should always look at the metrics, look at all the data that you have, and go ahead to your go talk to your leadership. Yaar, this is something we believe is not gonna is taking a lot of time operationally. We should have this in our sprint and prioritize this feature so that it's a win-win for everyone, for the team and for the company.
Oh my God, I did not know कि इतना सारा बैकग्राउंड है. मुझे लगा कि ये प्रिंसिपल तो सबसे सिंपल है, बट आई थिंक ये तो सबसे ज्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स है. So moving on to the next principle. The next principle is learn and be curious. I think I will get this one right. So learn and be curious is, I think, pretty simple. Just learn and be curious, man. Like keep on learning at every level, even if you have become a principal engineer or some very big guy. Even big CEOs never stop learning. So I think this is a mark of a leader that they keep on learning and their curiosity is always high. So काफी simple है ये वाला तो.
Well, yeah, in that sense, yes, but there are nuances, and I think let me describe a small scenario to describe how this principle comes into play. So our team was working on a workflow engine and developing business needs on that same workflow engine for years. And होता क्या है जब आप कोड करते हो एक particular technology एक platform के साथ, you're pretty much you resist changing that because every developer becomes cozy and comfortable with that technology and coding on it, but you with every task that you do, and at least for the tasks there where it's gonna have a long term impact on being used in the team, you should definitely think about कि hey, what's the latest and greatest on the market, अगर क्या मेरे पास और solutions हैं जो इस पूरे development process को simple बना सकती हैं, and I can bet you इसमें you will not be able to do this if you have not accounted for that time when you're doing sprint planning. So a very important thing to keep in mind is you bake in some of these development times right as at the time of planning your stories.
Okay, so I think sprint planning वाला tip काफी useful है कई लोगों के लिए. Even I don't get a lot of time for learning, to be very honest. So let's move to the next principle. Hire and develop the best. I think ये वाला भी बहुत simple है कि just hire the best candidates, right? कि अच्छे बंदों को hire करो जिनको मस्त coding आती है and उनको फिर develop करवाओ, right? Like they know coding. अब now यहाँ पे आके वो develop करेंगे. Okay, I'm just joking. So what I feel is hire and develop the best is you hire good candidates and you develop them, like you nurture them. You try to find their key strength and weakness and give them opportunity to grow as a leader. So I think इसका यही gist है कि the overall development of the individual should be taken care of.
That's true. I think for understanding this principle, let me kind of give a small scenario which happened in my team. मेरा एक बहुत अच्छा दोस्त है in the current team. We were working in the same org for about 3 years. So having to work for such a long time is like you get to have a lot of domain knowledge. And this friend of mine, he was always curious to question कि हम ये task क्यों कर रहे हैं? Why are we not picking up something else which is gonna give more bring more returns for our end users? So there is always a thin line between balancing what the vision of the team is and what the customer's demands are, what immediately you should solve for. So he always wanted to explore that kind of work stream. So our leadership did acknowledge this fact ki, hey man, you understand this space really well. So they did give him opportunities where he could help the leadership with setting up the right priorities and aligning with the long-term charter for the team. He did also shadow other technical program managers if that's what role that fits in well. And he actually has finally moved to currently being a technical program manager in the same team. So that's a good example of, I think, how this leadership principle is demonstrated.
I think, yeah, indeed, this is a really good example. So let's move to the next principle. Leaders insist on highest standards. I think this is also not very tough. So what I think is leaders will not compromise with anything substandard. They will always go for the perfection and they will have a really high standard. And I think their subordinates may find it unreasonable at times. ऐसा कि यहाँ पे लिखा भी हुआ है. So I think this principle is not that tough, but it can be tough on the employees at some times.
I think leaders should always have this notion where they are, bringing positive change and raising the bar on the entire code quality. And I can remember of one small scenario where we were where this principle is can be seen in action. So we were developing on a product जहाँ पे हम unit test लिखते थे code और code के साथ, and that was and functional tests were never really prioritized. They, again, same reasons. The end users don't get to have any benefits from these tests. But if you look at code quality and catching edge cases, catching bugs in your pipeline, it's very, very tough to not have automated tests and believe everything will just go fine in production. So this is one example where I feel we should always insist on the highest standards and raising the bar of code quality in every project.
So I think that's another good example. So let's move to the next principle. So leaders think big. Okay. I think I completely get this one, because you don't build systems for today. आज हो सकता है कि तुम्हारा सिस्टम बहुत छोटा हो, but it should be extensible for tomorrow. हो सकता है because like if you are working in a startup, but startup के आज 10,000 customers हैं, but कल 10 million भी हो सकते हैं. So the system should be made such that it's extensible to cater the needs of such high volume also. So is it correct?
Yes, I think the scenario that you just talked about was already a very good example of this principle. I remember we were working on one of the projects where we were gonna launch the project in private beta, and when we were designing, everybody was thinking, there will be just 10K customers or whatnot. But it's always important to understand that scale is always growing as you move on with new, maybe the public availability of the API or whatever it is. So we should always keep in mind that the system that we have designed for right now should be able to manage scale at large and just be extensible enough to more diverse business use cases. And you don't take very short-term decisions on your current approach.
Okay. I got this one. I think I was pretty correct. So let's move to the next one. The next one is leaders have a bias for action. Okay. I think it can be easily misunderstood, because it looks like leaders will take rash decisions without thinking too much. They will directly act. But what I believe here is, as we can also read, that the decisions that may not impact the customer directly, or that can be changed, that can be easily changed later on, those actions should be taken without too much deliberation. They should be taken quickly, and I think this will increase the overall turnaround time.
Yeah, I think as I say here, I have a good example of where you can see this principle in action. Suppose you're working on APIs and you want to expose these APIs to the end user. For setting up the contract of the API, since they're gonna be vended out, you should definitely take a lot of time and patience in designing the contracts. But if you look at the other aspects, the internal aspects, where you're using some technology for perhaps queuing or or take the example of caching, right? So caching is caching strategies do change over time, and you might want to learn from your from the initial launch, and go ahead and revise it. So you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of time कि हाँ मैं इसको I'll get the best one in the first shot.
I think caching was a really good example. So let's move to the next principle. The next principle is frugality. So, okay, Amazon is famous for this principle, to be honest. So
yeah,
what I understand from this principle is cut down your
I'm pretty
budget.
sure it's always gonna be in people don't understand it, right? But I would like to hear from you. What do you feel about this one? What do you understand?
I think frugality is a very Indian thing. Coming from a middle class family, I think my dad was also very frugal. So he's still a very frugal person. So the main thing is you don't do the things that are not needed. You only do the things, you only allocate the resources that are needed, just enough. Nothing more, nothing more, nothing less. So you don't do unnecessary things. And I think that is frugality.
Yeah, I think I have a good example from what I understand when my team was working on one of the projects where we had to send the email notifications. Um, and so you don't necessarily invest in queues that where ordering where you have to pay for the strict ordering as well. You kind of get a very basic implementation done because you don't really care about that aspect, and you start small. You start with a queue which is where you just don't have to pay for that extra strict ordering feature because we don't need it as of now and don't envision to see that in any time soon. So that's what this principle says, kind of start spend money only on technologies and products which is really gonna bring benefit, uh, and not overspend.
Okay, okay. I think our understanding coincide quite a lot for this one. So let's move to the next principle. The next principle is earn trust. So what I think is like let me leave the text and tell you my understanding. It may be very incorrect also, but what I think is you earn trust by showing your true nature. You earn trust by becoming a good listener. You earn trust when people believe that you are a good contributor to the team, that you value the other person's opinion. Only then you will be a trustable employee or a trustable colleague. So I think earning trust is a more emotional side of the thing that keeps the team together. So yeah, that's my understanding. What do you say about it?
Yeah, I think you're pretty much right, Amit. So this is kind of a leadership principle which is to do with how you interact with others, how you win over the trust of others. So I remember a scenario here when we were when I was presenting a design. I had all the data points of why my solution is the best solution ever, but when you are bringing up your design in the forum, everybody will have their own set of points and reasons to prefer one solution versus the other. So you should be very patient with hearing out every data points, all the data points from all the different members in the forum, and not kind of shadow them out, because everybody loves to have their own voice being put out there. You don't need to necessarily take a decision then and there itself. You can just say, hey, let's all decouple the process of decision making from the process of presenting the data points, and that is something a leader would always do. Hear out all the data points from every member in the forum so that everyone feels significant, respect their voice, and then say like at the end you can just summarize all the data points and take the right decision on everyone's after hearing to everyone's data points.
Okay, I think I totally understand it now. So moving to the next one, the next principle is dive deep. So I think this one contradicts with the initial principle of bias for action. I don't understand like how can we have a bias for action and also dive deep. But okay, let me tell you my understanding. So dive deep is like trying to investigate the problem to its core and trying to find the real reasons of everything and leaving no stone unturned. So if you have a problem, dive deep on it. So this is my understanding.
Yeah, so this principle effectively is to do with going down more layers and understanding what the real root cause of customer behavior or like change in system behavior is. I can have a small example here. So whenever you get a high severity ticket, or you are like you have some issue going on in production, the first thing definitely that you need to do is understand how you can mitigate that, and you should definitely do all that comes in your way to kind of stop the bleeding as soon as possible. Show your bias for action, in actually mitigating the high severity ticket. But in the hindsight, when you after the mitigation is done, what you should always do is go dive into the different aspects of what really was wrong. Were we not having functional tests that could test that scenario, or is that scenario very difficult to test in the first place? Are we using the wrong set of technologies? Can we write something which is simple enough? You should kind of ponder and think about all the different verticals of the problem after the mitigation step is done, so that you fix this problem not just for the current high severity ticket that you just received. You fix it for a quite good amount of time, so that you don't have this problem coming up again.
Okay, I think now I understand this principle quite better. So let's move to the next principle. Leaders have backbone, they disagree and commit. So now, okay, again, I feel a bit of contradiction with untrust. So the untrust leaders are like, okay, I would like to listen to you. Please tell me what you want to say. And here the leader have a lot of backbone. They are like disagreeing, voicing their opinion, being, I think, challenging others. So it's quite different from earning trust. But what my understanding is, of course, if you have an opinion, have reasoning for it, have a backbone. But if you are convinced with the other person, then just commit to it. So that's my understanding.
Yeah, I think you're pretty right. So this principle says that quite a bit of time you land up in situations where the forum is with a particular notion. They all support a particular decision or a particular approach, but you inherently have a different set of data points to support a different approach altogether. You should not shy away to not present that in the forum. You should give all your data points that you feel is applicable to support your approach or your solution that you have in mind. And then if the forum decides to go the other way around, and if there's the good enough data points to support the final decision, you also should be commit wholly to the final decision and not and not go two ways on it. So there should be just one decision at the end, and then you should be totally satisfied with the data points that were presented. And if not, go ahead and question them. But at the end, you should always be satisfied and come out after the meeting with just one decision with everyone agrees on.
Finally, let's move to the last principle: deliver results. So what I understand is, if you are a leader, if you are not a leader, if you are anybody, if your employer is paying you, you should be delivering results, I think, on time. So that means your deliverables should be on time. I think you should have a strategy to plan your deliverables. How will you break down the task and make things possible? And I think this is a very important principle for anybody.
Yeah, I think deliver results is something that you always practice on a day-to-day basis when you're working on projects. You don't really want to miss deadlines. But if you think about the deadlines which come with a lot of customer impact, for example, the Diwali sale in India, you definitely would like to reshuffle priorities if there are a lot of items in your backlog, and pick up the right items in your Scrum so that you don't miss upon such big events, because these just come like once a year sometimes. And just groom your backlog in such a way that you do not that you complete all the tasks on time and go ahead and release the product on time.
Okay, I think so. The main thing is on-time delivery. So thanks a lot, KV, for explaining all the 14 principles. I think it's a delight for our viewers to get to know all the 14 leadership principles from a guy who has been in Amazon for 5 years.
Hey, it was a pleasure doing this with you today, Amit. I'm sure people will find this insightful enough, at least on some of the practical examples and scenarios we did talk about. Pleasure to be on your channel today. Thanks.
I just wanted to say it's not my channel, it's our channel. So hey guys, if you like more such videos, please press the bell icon and like this video, share with friends, and prepare for the FANG interviews.
Hey guys, don't get obsessed with FANG. Find the job and find the role that works for you.
Peace.
Peace.